All right, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order officially. And if you would please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Van Essen, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Lori Bennell, Stephen Verver, Jeff Ayu, David Collins, Deborah Van Essen, George Salgin.
Here. In our meeting, we open it up for a public discussion. It's a time that we allow the public to address us on a matter that is not on our agenda for the evening. Is there anyone that would like to take the podium and speak to a particular issue not on our agenda for the evening? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our reorganization. It's that time of year. So, Director Zeidenbart, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, we will open up for nominations for the chair position. So if anybody would like to make a nomination, we will move forward.
First, for doing such an awesome job, walked in some difficult meetings, one of our most intense meetings we've had in a while, and doing an excellent job. And I'd like to nominate the Vice Chair, Jeff, to step into the chairman position.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay. David Collins,
Yes.
Jeff Ayu, George Salgin,
Yes.
Deborah Van Essen, Stephen Verver.
Okay, and at this time, we will open up nominations for our vice chair for this year.
It would be my pleasure to nominate Deborah Van Essen for our vice chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Why don't we do a roll call vote?
David Collins, Jeff Ayu, George Salgin,
Yes.
Deborah Van Essen, Stephen Verver.
All right, looks like we have a new chair. We will actually just stay in our current position tonight, if that's fine. And then next meeting, we'll have everybody kind of reorganized where they're supposed to be sitting. So pay attention next time you come in where your name tag will be, because you'll be sitting in a different spot. So this time, Chairman, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So as we progress down, we are going to look at the approval of our last meeting minutes, which I believe was in October.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. If you did not attend the meeting or read the minutes, please abstain. Stephen Verver. Abstain. Okay. David Collins,
Yes.
Deborah Van Essen, Jeff Ayu,
Approve.
George Salgin.
Abstain.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, so we have 3 items of discussion. We have a discussion item and 2 public hearing items. We'll start with the major site review on SR 2499. And that would be the Villa Rodan project. Ken, do you have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Fellow commissioners, this time I'll present the staff report to you, and then we will, after staff report concludes, turn it back over to you for any questions. So request here in front of you this evening is to demolish an existing structure located at 229 West Main Street and construct a new commercial building on the property. The property is approximately 0.15 acres and is located at 229 West Main.
Director Zeidenbart?
Oh.
Mr. Collins has to step out. He needs
That's true.
So when a property is located within 500 feet of an individual's property that they own, they need to exclude themselves from the vote and disappear from public sight entirely.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll go right with the Ken's desk.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, so basically this is located in the C3 Central Business District. We do have a vicinity map up there. You guys are probably all familiar with the property. Here is the current configuration of the property. It is actually the old Edie's Taco Shop, or Eddie's Taco Shop. She's moving to a different location. So this building is sitting empty at this point and will be demolished as part of this project. So the proposed one-story building will be built with a potential of 6 retail or office rental suites available for small business opportunities that align with the downtown area. The proposed building is about 4,500 square feet roughly. Has been designed to cover the entire footprint of the parcel, which is common in our downtown area, especially for buildings located on Main Street. The architecture of the building has been designed with a Spanish colonial revival theme, which includes white stucco walls, terracotta clay tile roof, upper roof parapets, decorative cornices, decorative archways along Main Street, exposed wood outriggers, decorative window trim, and glass storefronts. So there's some elevations there for you to view. And if I go back one, there's kind of a potential layout for suites. They can demise the space in different configurations if they have users that want to take up more than one of the suites. We did include in your staff report a pretty robust analysis of the parking, which always seems to be a big issue in our downtown. So as with any development or redevelopment in the downtown district, parking is always a concern. There are, however, special provisions and exceptions within our current zoning ordinance pertaining to development within our downtown area. Essentially, the code states that businesses that are enlarged, reconstructed, remodeled, or structurally altered in the C3 district shall provide parking as determined by the Planning Commission until such time as special parking provisions are adopted for the C3 zones. I won't go through all the analysis for the parking in the downtown, but what it really boils down to is as depicted on the maps that were given to you for parking and the spreadsheets that were given to you for the downtown parking. The map shows that for this project, there is a daytime parking demand in that block of downtown of about 138 spaces needed in that area. With a parking supply of about 125. So they're fairly close in number for the downtown during the daytime. And then at nighttime, the parking demand was only about 28 spaces in that whole block area, just because of businesses that close at 5 o'clock. We did take a worst case scenario, I think, for this project as far as not assuming that they were all going to be office spaces and closed at 5 o'clock. There might be a restaurant or so that's going to locate maybe in the front 2 suites. So we did look at parking demand for a restaurant space and also that they might be open past 5 o'clock. So that's what you're seeing in the parking analysis. So I think, again, the parking demand during the day, it assumes that every business is completely full at that point, customers and such. That's what the parking demand is showing. So there is a slight difference there in the parking demand. However, what that means is people might have to park a block or so away and walk, which is common in your downtown areas. So let's go back. Here we go. The site plan. So in the back of the site plan, there's a trash enclosure that they have kind of actually built into the backside of the building that will face the alleyway. So that'll have some decorative doors on that, and so it won't be seen from the alleyway, but will be accessible there. There's no signage shown on the building. However, any signage will have to comply with our downtown signage regulations. They'll have to submit a separate permit for those. I think they've indicated they want to keep it pretty minimal, just with mostly signage that might be on the windows or window sticker types on the door. So we did have a meeting with the applicant and the project review committee and to review the project and discuss any concerns and the conditions of approval that we got during our referral process have been incorporated into the staff report where appropriate here. So I won't go through all the conditions of approval, but we'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and be happy to entertain any questions. I do believe the applicant's here too, if you have any questions from the applicant. But at this point, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Director. I appreciate that. So this is an open time for questions, discussion with Ken for the commission. Any questions about the project?
I don't have, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, yep. Okay, so do we have anyone that's the applicant and proponent and or opponents here? Applicant? Okay, wonderful. If you want to step up to the podium here and state your name and your address.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Annette Rodan. This is
And I'm Todd Rodan.
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too.
Yes, your address, please.
289 John Camps Way, Ripon, California.
Mr. Chairman, I guess if there's nothing you want to say, I do have a question about, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a nice improvement. Do you have tenants already for the site, or is this purely spec?
No, we have a few that right now
That are interested.
that are interested.
Okay, and is it office tenants or some retail or?
Well, right
Eateries or-
now it'll be one is me, and I'm a mortgage broker in town.
Okay,
And then we have had a couple different little retailer and possibly a
Restaurant.
great restaurant.
okay, okay.
Okay, so it's a spec project, basically.
Correct. Yes.
So knowing that, is it your intention to comply then with all the staff findings,
Yes.
zoning requirements, and perfect?
And do you currently have an office, business office in Ripon, or you're,
Right next door.
okay,
I'm right here.
okay, okay.
Any other questions?
Not for me. No. Looks like a beautiful building.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, I think
That's-
it'll be a
that's
nice
our
addition.
Architect right here, Heidi.
Okay.
Good.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no discussion, we can go ahead and, I didn't, is there any opposition to the? There is no opposition to the project. Okay,
I'd be happy to make a motion.
seconder?
I would motion that the planning commission approves the major site plan permit number SR 24-99 for Via Rodan based on the findings and subject to the conditions of the staff report.
I'll second.
Get a roll call vote. Stephen Berber,
Yes.
Lori Bennell,
Yes.
Deborah Van Essen,
Yes.
Jeff Vayu,
Yes.
George Salgin.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that closes the public discussion. And we have two we have two public hearing items. The first is use permit 2357, the convenience store and gas station and retail site. Request from the developer SRB Properties LLC for the planning commission to approve the construction of a 5,198 square feet convenience market with 6 fuel dispensers and 4,320 retail building square footage in the C2 Community Commercial District, along with an offset street parking facility and associated landscaping. Director Zeidenbart?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Let's see here, we've got, the request again is to construct 2 new retail buildings and gas station in the C2 Community Commercial District, along with an off-street parking facility and landscaping on about a 1.6 acre parcel. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but it's located kind of along Arcway there on the, I guess, the northwest corner. Building 1 is a 5,198 square foot facility. It's being proposed as a convenience market and gas station with 6 fueling dispensers and associated fueling canopy. Building 2 is 4,320 square foot facility and is being proposed as a shell building at this point in time, which can contain an assorted uses allowed in the C2 Community Commercial District, which could be anywhere from professional office space, retail, or restaurant uses. The architectural style for the buildings, the exterior of Building 1, which is the convenience market, will be constructed with mostly stucco or stucco looking siding on this thing. Most of the bottom of the building and 3/4 up on the corner columns will be adorned with ledge stoned bluff, mimicking a stacked stone look. So that's a kind of a siding that is to mimic stone. The remainder of the building will be covered with some panels, which is a fiber cement panel with a textured finish to mimic a stucco finish. There will be metal coping around the perimeter of the top of the building, and the downspouts, gutters, and roof access ladder will all be painted to match. And all the windows will be anodized black window frames, and a couple doors will be adorned with red awnings, aluminum awnings. There's the elevations of the convenience market, and then also an interior footprint of the convenience market layout. The exterior of building 2 will be constructed with different shades of stucco in several areas. Trex horizontal rain screen, cladding in parts of it, brick veneer, vertical and horizontal metal siding, bronze anodized storefront windows and doors, decorative exterior lighting, metal awnings, and overhead supported canopies. So there's quite a mix of different materials and looks for this building. Although no drawings have been submitted for the fueling canopy for the site, a condition of approval has been added to ensure that the canopy is constructed to architecturally match building number 1, the convenience market. Site access to the site will be provided by 2 new commercial driveways, one on frontage road, while the second access will be from Arcway. The frontage road driveway is being constructed at the furthest possible distance from the Arcway Miljo frontage road intersection where the off ramps are. This driveway will be coordinated to line up with the neighboring trucking facility across the street, which provides for a safer traffic movement as cars exit and enter out of the standard driveways. The Arcway driveway will be constructed as a right in and right out limited access driveway only for traffic safety reasons. A small center median depicted here on the plan will be required to be constructed on Arcway to limit the access into that driveway. It's visually depicted here that the engineering department will be reviewing that to ensure that it's long enough to make sure that the traffic safety movements, actually the traffic safety is achieved for this driveway. Parking, the project includes a paved off-street parking facility, which meets city standards. It includes 52 total stalls. There's 51 standard parking spaces and 1 loading space on site. The site plan also indicates a bicycle parking area between the 2 buildings to include space for 3 bikes, which does slightly exceed the requirements of our code. And all parking stalls on site meet the city standards, which again is 10-foot wide parking stalls for our standard spaces, which is a little bit wider than most other communities around us here. The site plan does indicate that site will contain approximately 29% landscaping, which greatly exceeds the city standard of about 15%. Conceptually, the site plan does show some landscaping here. However, a condition of approval has been added to the project that would require submittal of a more detailed landscape plan to ensure there's a lot of enough landscaping to buffer along Arcway and some of the housing that sits just north of that project. There's no lighting really shown on the plan either, but they will have to provide lighting plans to the planning department and the police department. Police department will be checking the site for adequate lighting for safety reasons, while planning department makes sure that the lighting stays on site and does not produce glare onto neighboring properties, especially the residential properties surrounding them. There are 2 trash enclosures on site. One's located by the driveway off of frontage road near the convenience market, and the other one is located near the other retail building. Both enclosures will have to be designed to architecturally be compatible with the buildings, and they do have to have a roof structure built onto them for stormwater requirements. And the signage, there's some signage conceptually shown on the plans. However, like I said, these will have to be submitted separately on permits to make sure they comply with the City of Ripon sign permit standards. Other site amenities include along the western property line, they anticipate putting a 7-foot masonry wall across the entire western property line. They do have some air and water dispensers located next to the convenience market. And they do have a potential for some outdoor patio area adjacent to building number 2, kind of up against Arcway there. In case there might be a restaurant that wants some outdoor seating. And they will have some electric vehicle chargers on the site. We did go through a pretty robust environmental on this project. We looked, CEQA took a very good look at the project and also had a traffic analysis that went with it. We did hire a consultant to do all that work. The environmental didn't really show anything on there that had any concern for the city to be worried about. The traffic analysis did show that the intersection at Arcway and let me get to that slide there. Intersection at Arcway and Fulton Avenue that currently exists is currently operating at a level service that's below our standard during certain times of the day. So this project will certainly add to that level of service decline. So a condition of approval has been put into the project that the roundabout be installed at that location. That's our city's ultimate circulation plan for that area, is to construct a roundabout similar to the one that's on this side of the overpass, that size. So they would be taking out kind of that whole landscaped median type over there along Arcway and Fulton, and installing a roundabout to control traffic a little better and keep traffic movement. So installation of a roundabout does actually alleviate the traffic standards. It does raise us back up to levels of service that are acceptable in our general plan. So the applicant would be required to build that roundabout concurrently with the project. The project wouldn't be final till the roundabout is finished on that. So that's kind of the staff report. We did meet with the applicant and the project review committee, and the conditions of approval have shown up in the staff report where appropriate. So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you and see if you guys have any questions.
Any questions from anybody?
Yes. So Ken, when Ripon Christian bought that land for the bus barn, and then they also bought the second little piece there, and then there was the third piece. So is this taking those 2 pieces, or is there still going to be a vacant space in there?
There's still going to be a vacant space
Okay.
in there. So if you drive by the site now, there seems to be a lot, like almost a chain link fence and a bunch of bushes along there. That's the site where the gas station and the convenience market and the retail building would go. There's still going to be a space in between the Ripon Christian Bus Yard and the proposed project.
Okay. And then my other question for you was the Fulton Arc traffic.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to have to wait till the houses were built. So yay, it's going to come in before the houses. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the mitigation report here?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So you guys did get in your packet about a 270-page environmental document. Hopefully you've all read thoroughly through that. So what you have in front of you is a couple items. One is the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. So out of the environmental document, there is some mitigation monitoring that has to occur. Obviously, during construction, there's dust and noise that occur, so we have to make sure that those are meeting the city standards for noise abatement and dust and control. So those are all in the mitigation monitoring, as well as the construction installation of the roundabout being a mitigation measure. So anything that was a mitigation measure in the environmental report does get into the mitigation monitoring program that we monitor while the project is being constructed.
And as typically now, is stormwater all handled on site?
Yeah, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then you do have some pages that were also included with that mitigation monitoring. It's the pages that were different than the admin draft that was sent out to you guys for review. It's just the final copy of the CEQA, the mitigated negative declaration, which does include a couple appendices, which is just some of the documents that have been previously filed, like the notice of intent to adopt a negative declaration. So all those are in the appendices that were in this new attachment here, as well as just comments to any letters that we got.
Do you know the timing on the project?
I do not. The applicant might be able to speak to that.
Quick question since we're on CEQA for Chief Sauer, if you don't mind. would you weigh in on the Arc Road entrance? Is it a safe entrance, or is there any concerns you have?
No, no concerns. Very safe.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, that concludes our question time with Ken. Thank you. Do we have somebody here from the applicant for the project?
We need to make sure we open up the public hearing on that.
I have to open up the public hearing. The chairman will open up the public hearing and inform the audience that those wishing to speak on the item are to approach the podium and state their names and addresses. The applicant testimony will go first, followed by the proponent's testimony, including written testimony, the opponent's testimony, including written testimony. The applicant may rebut testimony of opposition.
Good evening. My name is Bill Johnston. I'm the architect for the project. I live in Stockton, 1512 Ravara Road in Stockton. The applicant had a family emergency, is not able to be here this evening, so I can answer any questions.
We had a similar project several years on this parcel, Mr. Johnson. First off, I'm very excited that you guys have 30% landscaping
Yes.
on it, which is nice as we see the residential, across a very wide area, but it's nice to screen it. 30% is almost like a park. Can you comment on what type of trees might be surrounding it, if you know yet? And then my only other question is, I noticed that there's parking over the storage area for the fuels. I just wanted to know if that's common. It may be, I'm just not aware.
So to the first issue, to the landscaping, I'm an architect, not a landscape architect, and so not proficient there. I have a good friend that's a landscape architect that we'll bring in to do the project. And he can work with us on the tree palette, plus what's the city standard requires. And the second item with the fuel tanks, we worked with Circle K as will be a Circle K franchise, and they worked with us on the location of the fuel tanks, and this is kind of their preferred location. It's accessible, but it's out of the main flow of traffic.
Okay, so it's a parking area though. I'm assuming if vehicles are parked there, they're not able to fill those tanks.
They have signage that indicates, I think, hours that they would be anticipated to have the fuel tanks and fuel trucks in.
Okay.
And so they've addressed it in that kind of fashion.
Perfect, thank you.
So basically what you're saying is that is normal to have parking above the fuel
Yes.
storage? Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what Dave was getting at. That's
That's
normal.
kind of the Circle K model
Okay.
and how they've determined that it functions.
Just curious, are the buildings prefabricated steel buildings?
No, they're not.
They are not. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they just had insulated panels, but sounds like it's a different look.
It's going to be both will be a kind of a typical stick frame.
Okay.
Bill, this may or may not be a question you can answer, but when it comes to the shell structure that's currently going to be unoccupied until you have clients or tenants, what does that change with the level of service? Does it change the level of service? Adding more vehicles when there's normal retail hours of, I think it's 3 or 4 different potential locations?
As far as the required parking and
Has that all been incorporated
yes,
in that? Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
little different parking standard for the convenience store versus the retail.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious as to, I mentioned stormwater earlier. So C3, is that being handled with bioswales and underground perforated pipe? How are you guys handling the water?
So the part of the reason that we have the large landscape area around the perimeter is to give us some room for bioswales, and then ultimately it will be retention tanks before it goes to the system.
Comments? Okay, thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you.
So
Anybody else in
ask for
favor?
a
And then-
proponent first.
Yes, is there another proponent or a proponent for this project that would like to speak? If so, state your name and address at the podium. Doesn't appear there is. Is there an opponent to this project? If so, come to the podium and state your name and your address, please. Right up here.
At the podium.
You need to go there.
Yeah, that microphone up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for giving me the opportunity to make a few remarks and basically to object to the project. I am a resident of.
Your name and address, please.
Beg your pardon?
Your name.
Oh, George Condon, and my residence is 1186 Willow Court, up Miljo, a few blocks from that area.
Thank you, George. Go ahead.
And I do object to the project. One reason is the same, as I understand it anyway, the same services are available only a few blocks away at the Main Street exit. It's a small retail gas station and so on. So, and that's basically a few blocks away. And it seems to me it's overkill of those saved services. And furthermore, that is a very quiet, safe residential area, a lot of school kids walking by and so forth. And to me, this would could have the probability of changing significantly the quality of life in the area, because the convenience stores, depending on their hours, if they're open till midnight or into the wee hours of the morning, attract all kinds of customers and maybe non-customers. I'm sure you've seen that at the Main Street exit. People just out looking for something to do and maybe even cause trouble. So I'm very concerned that a project of this sort, so near facilities that already exist one exit away, would greatly change what is a quiet, desirable residential area, and could threaten the quality of life for the residents of Ripon who are there. So I hope you'll give that serious consideration, please.
Thank you, George. Appreciate your time. The applicant has a chance to respond and rebut it.
Well, I think the best response is that it's going to be a well-managed operation that is aware of concerns of someone like George. And it's not intended to be something that is going to be a nuisance to the community, but rather something that will provide an asset. It'll be closed later in the evening so that it won't be a 24-hour operation. So I think it comes to management as much as anything.
So the actual gas station, the Circle K, won't be open 24/7?
So the gas station itself, you'll be able to use a card at the pump.
But the actual convenience store
But the
portion
convenience
of it
store
will be closed
will
for a
be
period of
closed.
time?
Yeah.
Do you know what your proposed hours are?
9 o'clock.
I don't remember reading it.
Ken can address what really is.
Yeah, so, basically, with the use permit, any business that wants to be open between the hours of midnight and 5 AM need a use permit.
Right.
So one of the conditions of approval in here is that the convenience market has to be closed down between those hours. So whether they choose to stay open till midnight or close at 11, that'd be up to the applicant. The condition that's in the staff report is the convenience market is closed between those midnight and 5 AM. But the gas pumps would be accessible. Actually, these are the same restrictions as the gas station over here on Canal and Jack Tone that came in as well. Yeah, yep, same hours.
All right, any other questions? Thank you for your time, appreciate it. Is there anyone else that has a comment, would like to speak? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll leave this time for the commissioners to discuss the item.
The other gas station that we approved over on Jacktone there, because I remember that was a big discussion for that too. There were some people that were very concerned about that. Have we had, and probably our police chief can address this too, have we had any problems with that convenience store with the hours that it's open?
There's been no abnormal problems for a gas station compared to the other ones.
Okay.
What about noise complaints?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know the distance to the nearest home residence in this location? Seems to me like it's quite a ways.
It's just on
No.
the other side of the road.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
your,
The other side of Arcway.
And you have the masonry wall a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, the masonry wall will be on the western property line. Not the Arcway will be landscaped, and then the houses are kind of right across from
How about
Arcway.
the masonry wall that's across the street?
Oh, yeah, correct. That's an 8-foot
residents.
masonry wall that's separating the vacant parcel.
It's maybe, I don't know, 200 yards?
Yeah-ish.
Yeah, 200 yards to the closest
Mhm.
house, yeah.
But
I walk
only
there a lot.
3 of those properties actually view this. There is a partial height masonry wall, Mises out there.
Yeah.
I think primarily there's 3 direct lines of visibility.
And Ken, is the zoning on that empty parcel on Milgio, just east of Arc, that's C3?
That's, yeah, C2, same as
C2.
this site, yeah.
Is the wall, there was a masonry wall on the western side of the project that goes from one end to the other. My recollection is that the first 20 feet of it would be about a 3-foot. Is that
Correct.
still the plan for line
Yeah,
of sight?
so for traffic safety coming out of that driveway, they'd have to make sure that's cut down to the 3 foot so they could see. There's not a requirement for a masonry wall. They just proposing to put a 7-foot masonry wall along that boundary.
I will say that, so it's always tough when you have commercial proposal close to housing. You know, we deal with this a lot. And unfortunately, the zoning is such that that's what can be allowed. There doesn't mean we have to put it there. However, what would go there and what would make sense to go there? I certainly would not want to build a house there because no one's going to want to live there. And the last time we talked about this, we had someone who suggested a park. Well, I'm not going to have kids playing there since it's easy off freeway, on freeway. So I think a park is a horrible idea. So I get where you're coming from, but if it's done well and managed well, I think this is a really good option for that area. And I understand that it's not always probably the best thing that people who live there want. So I always say when you buy a house, look what's around you.
A question for you, Ken, if you know the answer to the ambient lighting for the gas station, will that have a downward trend as the hours pass, some say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or will that lighting remain consistent throughout the evening?
The lighting will remain consistent throughout the evening for the ambient lighting on site, just from a safety standpoint. Obviously, the police department wants to be able to drive by and see if there's anything happening there. There is requirements that they would have to shield, so there wouldn't be any direct glare onto the neighboring properties. So they would have to shield them. A lot of the new lights for parking lots are very well shielded and focusing the light downward instead of outward these days, so they don't put the lights as high. And with the landscaping and shielding, I think we could make sure that the neighboring properties don't have any glare on them. But there will be ambient lighting in that area.
Just to clarify, the traffic study that they did, they feel like the roundabout there is going to mitigate traffic pretty well because I've had enough experiences over there to where it seems like that entrance on Arcway would be a problem of sorts. But if that roundabout's gonna slow it down, then
So when you're talking, when you're heading north on Fulton, that kind of that off ramp onto Arcway.
yeah,
So that would all get removed and the roundabout would design to incorporate all that. So people will would have to come into the roundabout, exit out of the roundabout to go down Arcway now.
is that gonna be like help me out here, West Ripon roundabout where there's actually stop signs?
No,
Or is it gonna be a yield roundabout?
it'll be designed much like this one here, the clock tower roundabout, where you've got roads that have different angles coming in and out of it. Arcway is essentially planned to extend westward past that, where the canal just got underground at some point. That's the ultimate plan there. So having a roundabout there would facilitate that movement as well. You just have a lot better traffic safety. If you've been sitting at that stop sign on Arcway and traffic coming over that overpass is going pretty good clip. You don't know if they're turning to go down Arcway or they're going straight. I think we've had some pretty good near misses there. And then it gets backed up during typically it's when school's going into session or after school hours when the parents are picking up kids. So like I said, the circulation plan for the city called for a roundabout as the ultimate improvement there. It would keep traffic flowing. A signal would stop traffic and potentially cause some traffic issues backing up over the top of the overpass. So the roundabout we feel is the best improvement for that spot, and that's why it was chosen. The applicant is, like I said, going to be putting that in as part of the project and getting reimbursed for some of that. But that's the ultimate. I think it would be the safest traffic movement there.
I would concur. Living in the Meritage homes there, we walk that a lot. And coming down the overpass or riding a bicycle down that and then having to cross there's cars that just fly around that corner onto Arc, and it can be pretty dangerous at times. So I didn't realize that it was a part of the plan to put a roundabout there, but I'm really glad to hear that. I think that's going to add to safety there. Just out of curiosity, will anybody developing in the specific plan have to participate in the overall cost?
Yeah, so they would collect funding in the specific plan, but also in our development fees, normal development fees for that as well. So like that other vacant parcel along Miljo there, when they pay their traffic fees would help offset some of the costs for that too. So they're basically paying their fair share. However, the applicant's putting it in and waiting for some of that reimbursement.
Would the like Lennar that's currently developing in there, are they having to pay those things concurrently or what?
Yeah, so I mean, every project that comes into town pays a transportation fee. So a chunk of that transportation fee does go into a pot for those improvements. So they would, get as development happens in that area, obviously get some reimbursement.
Thanks.
So that was one of the questions that I had regarding the traffic. It's currently an LOSF, and then with the roundabout becomes a level of service C. Does that change the dynamic for Arcway and Milgio? Does that raise the traffic rate there? And then what's also the second question is, how much of that traffic that's currently going to the gas station, the Chevron, the Loves, is going to be diverted to that gas station to actually alleviate traffic downtown? I didn't see that really in the study, or I'm not even sure how you can incorporate it, but I would imagine there's going to be a saturation that moves towards that new gas station once it's opened.
Yeah, so in the traffic report, there was actually trip generations that come off of that gas station and the retail center there. So that should have been in the traffic report. As far as alleviating some other traffic in other parts of town, because they might be heading there, they don't necessarily look at that aspect of it. It's difficult to kind of really quantify that. So they look at the trips generated by coming to or from that gas station, and then also mostly the intersections and roadways around it. That operating at level service F obviously kind of even precludes that other parcel along Miljo there from developing, because they're just going to add to that level service, being a failing level of service. So the roundabout really needs to be put in prior to anything going in over there, whether it's the gas station or future development.
Ken, is there going to be a city camera pointed in this direction?
One of the conditions of approval from the police department is to add a camera in that location. So they will be working with the police department to appropriately locate a one of the city cameras.
So living in that neighborhood, I think Jeff's question prompted something with me. Living in the neighborhood, when I go to get gas, it'll be, you know, one of the existing stations over there, Love's, or the others that are in the area as well. And then if I'm heading northbound on 99, there's the on-ramp right there. I'm wondering if this will generate a lot more traffic to the closer on-ramp to northbound 99, which is a much shorter, a little bit more hazardous on-ramp as well. Is that a consideration? Has that been thought about at all, or? does it-
Like I said, I don't know if they looked at how, you know, obviously some traffic will not be heading over to Love's, Flying J, that if there's another option there for them to that. I mean, obviously when you get projects like this that locate in and people kind of change their patterns of where they might fill up with gas. Sometimes it's a little more convenient to fill up at a place like a convenience store or a gas station like this than to maybe go mix it up with the truck traffic over there by the truck stops. As far as adding to the on-ramp there and such, is that kind of what you're after?
Yeah,
on that?
exactly. Just my thought.
Like I said, they did in the traffic analysis, there is trip generations that come off that site. They weren't terribly high.
They weren't.
I don't recall they were terribly high. They didn't push the level of service at the intersection of Miljo and Frontage Road and Arcway, and where the off ramps come together to a level of service that was not acceptable. So
Okay.
if that were the case, they would have been probably discussing with Caltrans and trying to figure out if they need to signalize that intersection at this point. But it didn't push those levels to that point.
Okay, good. I'm glad it was looked at. Thank
And
you.
it is a meter on-ramp.
Yeah.
I have a question, Ken. The installation of the roundabout, is that done prior to the building of the structure, or is that done after? And if so, how well? And then my second question would be, how long does the process of installing that roundabout take?
I'm not sure. Maybe Bill can answer the question of timing on that, as far as how long it would take. But it will be a concurrent improvement that has to happen. They will not be getting a final on the gas station on that site, that proposed site, until the roundabout's complete. But I don't know about how long it would take. I don't know if Bill knows that yet or not. They've got some proposals just to kind of get cost associated with what it would take to put it in, but I don't think the design's been fully vetted out as far as the complete design of it and how long it would take.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion to approve this project?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, as part of the motion, could you make sure we include the final mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring reporting program to make that part of adoption of
The initial study?
Yep. So the final initial study and mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program should be
Okay.
should be included in part of the motion.
Okay, so a motion to approve the project, including the final initial study of the mitigated negative declaration plan for the Arcway gas station and retail project.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the SRB Properties LLC conditional use permit, UP 2357, based on the findings and subject to the conditions in the staff report. And also to include the final declaration and monitoring for the mitigated report. I know that's not all the exact words, but I know Michael's capable of typing them all.
We'll
in.
make sure that gets clarified.
I'll second that.
Get a roll call vote. David Collins,
Yes.
Stephen Berber,
Yes.
George Salgin,
Yes.
Deborah Van Essen,
Yes.
Jeff Vayu.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, our final part of the public hearing is to go over the right-of-way abandonment on 923 South Acacia Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow commissioners, actually, I think the attachment you guys might have had in your packet didn't look like this one. I put it on your desk, but I think what ended up coming out.
This is a vacation. I love it when you do the vacation.
So back, this last year, July, you actually approved a project on Acacia Avenue for a small project down there. Part of that project, we identified some area that was extra right away for the city of Ripon and proposed to abandon that. So the applicant did finally come forward with an abandonment application. And that's what you're seeing in front of you, kind of on the screen, a little sideways there. Just to kind of talk you through it, the red area is what we're proposing to abandon. That's actual right of way that the city owns, but we're not going to be using it when they actually make all their final improvements. If you've driven down there, you know, like Acacia Avenue actually curves. So they will be putting in curb gutter and sidewalk and to match the other side, and they provide the appropriate right of way there. And that was extra right of way that we didn't need. So we did go through and send out a referral to all the agencies that might have utilities in that area. None of the utility companies came back with any concerns for abandoning that area. They didn't have any utilities there that would be affected. So we looked at the general plan. It does comply with the general plan. It's consistent with the general plan. So we would be asking the commission to make that consistency finding, and then we would forward your recommendation to the city council to formally abandon that property. So be happy to answer any questions. It is public hearing, so I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that part of it, but turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director. Any questions from the commission regarding this abandonment or vacation? Okay. Open it up for discussion. No discussion. Okay.
Open up the public.
Open up the public. Okay, public hearing is open. That's true. It is a public hearing. Is there anyone who is a proponent to this project? Is there anyone who's in opposition to this project? Okay, the public hearing is closed. And we will have a discussion amongst the commissioners regarding this project. Questions for Ken?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, seems simple.
I'll make a motion. if it's
Okay,
acceptable,
please.
That we approve resolution number 25.2. Is that complete enough?
Get a roll call vote. David Collins, Stephen Verver, George Salgin, Deborah Van Essen, Jeff Ayo.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, any reports, Ken?
Just really briefly, we are anticipating next month having our housing element come before the planning commission. So we will have the consultant come in and do a presentation of the housing element that we will be hopefully adopting here shortly. So the commission would obviously hear the presentation, ask questions of our consultant about the housing element, and then make a recommendation to city council to adopt it. So we're still trying to make sure that gets nailed down for next month, but that's what we have on the agenda so far. That's it. Yeah, you don't want a big fat document with like 3 days to go through it. Yeah, sure. We can get you out a copy of that. Yes, certainly we'll try to get that out as soon as possible for you guys.
The Super Bevmo, I've got a lot of questions on why is it stagnant? Is there any change in that?
There's not. I know when they built that building, they I think the applicant got a loan to do the shell of the building, and then they went back for some financing, so they had a lapse in there, and I think they're finally getting the inside built out, but it's taken a little bit of time. So I get asked the same question quite a bit. I don't know, but it's supposed to be. I've seen the plans for it. It's supposed to be pretty nice inside. They've got like an area for wine tasting and such too, so it should be a pretty upscale retail facility, not a typical liquor store like, you know.
Good question. I'd been asked the same thing.
Okay, any other questions for Ken? Any other comments? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.